I had the good fortune of watching a few minutes of Bill McKibben's interview on CNN a couple of weeks ago for his new book, Falter. And it was haunting, and his comments were, I said, boy, this is really serious stuff, what we're doing with our environment. Why are we not understanding this as a country, as a global world? And so the new book is out. Bill wrote the first book, which was one of the first books about global warming, called The End of Nature. And the new book, as I say, is called Falter. Bill McKibben, it's a pleasure. Welcome to the program. You've been an environmental activist and author, founder of the environmental organization 350.org for a while. You've been talking about this for a very long time. Can you tell us where we are today?
Sure. With you. 30 years ago, when I wrote the first book about this, it was still a distant warning. Now it's the pretty brute daily reality for hundreds of millions of people around the world.
Yeah.
Sometimes we see pictures. Paradise, California turns into hell inside half an hour, but there are cameras around. Sometimes we don't. Today, Mozambique is enduring the strongest storm ever to hit.
Ever. I saw that,
Africa.
Yeah.
Not many TV cameras in Mozambique, but lots of people suffering. At the biggest scale, we've raised the temperature of the Earth 1 degree Celsius, almost 2 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's melted 70% of the sea ice in the Arctic. The ocean is 30% more acidic, and we're seeing storms like we've never seen before. That's the beginning of the climate saga. We're on a path to raise the temperature of the planet about 3.5 degrees Celsius, about 7 or 8 degrees Fahrenheit in the course of this century. If that happens, then we will not be having civilizations like the ones we're used to having. That's why people are working so hard, activists, to try and push the system to move quickly, to put us under renewable energy, which is now the cheapest form of energy, in time to catch up with global warming. It's actually all fairly simple. Climate change is a math problem, and it's a race against time. And right now we're on the losing end of both.
Gosh. I just remember, Bill, reading Rachel's book, Silent Spring, and it changed my life. It changed my life. And I don't understand. Yeah, and I don't understand how we still are having this conversation 45 years later.
I can explain that one to you, because we know a lot now from good investigative reporting over the last few years. It turns out that on climate change, the oil companies knew pretty much everything there was to know in the 1980s. Exxon was the biggest company in the world then. Their product was carbon. They had great scientists. The scientists went to work, and they told their executives by 1982, 1983, how much and how fast it would warm. And they were believed. Exxon started building all its drilling rigs to compensate for the rise in sea level they knew was coming. But they didn't tell the rest of us. Altogether, the fossil fuel industry mounted an expensive campaign of deception and denial that's gone on now for 30 years. And it took us from the point where Republican President George H.W. Bush in 1988 said, "I'll fight the greenhouse effect with the White House effect," to the point where Republican President Donald Trump in 2019 is saying climate change is a hoax manufactured by the Chinese. That tells you what can happen if you spend enough money.